This is an Undiscovered Legacy production.
Hello, Scoob Believers, and welcome to episode number 88, double eight, on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur Get Across the Start Line. And it's me, Scoob, coming at you at whatever device you have to be listening on. Okay, so today, before I get started, I just want to give a quick reminder. October 22nd at 4 p.m. Central, I will be doing my first speaking engagement. Please keep an eye out for invites. It's going to be all over Twitter. It's going to be all over Facebook. I'm going to have it all over the place for you all to join me and listen to my speech on the 4 hurdles of what stops us from getting across the start line. Okay, enough of that. So today we are talking to Vera. Now, Vera is a bankruptcy lawyer specifically for entrepreneurs and a couple other things too, but we talk mostly about that. In this episode, we actually explore how embracing entrepreneurship requires overcoming the fear of the unknown and developing a flexible mind. And we also discuss the importance of creating a solid game plan while remaining adaptable and how investing in yourself can provide long-term security for entrepreneurs just like you. So we're going to make this quick. Let's listen to Vera. Salutations, Scoob Believers, and we are here again with another amazing entrepreneur. And thank you so much for coming to Undiscovered Entrepreneur, Getting Across the Start Line, where today we are talking to Vera. Hi, Vera.
Hi, Jesse.
So great for you to be on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur. Thank you for so much for taking the time to be here today.
It's my pleasure. It really is.
All right, awesome. So right away here, I'm going to ask you a kind of a semi-serious question, okay?
Okay.
All right, here we go. Ready?
Yes.
All right. Are you a Scoob believer?
I think so, yes.
Yes. Okay, close enough. I like it. Thank you, Vera. Thank you so much for being a Scoob believer. I super appreciate you. All right, now, right here in the very beginning, what I'd like to do is get an idea of who you are, what you do, and how you actually got across the start line in your entrepreneur adventure.
Sounds like a plan.
All right.
So, how I got started let me just tell you who I am first. I'm sorry about that. Vera McCoy. I'm an attorney at law. That's what I've been doing for the last about 30 years. And prior to that, I was an entrepreneur in the line of work with my mother. She and I had a partnership. We had a daycare center. So I've been pretty blessed, or maybe cursed. I'm not sure which of the two it is. That I've been able to work for myself, and I consider myself an entrepreneur pretty much all my life. And that came from my father, who owned his own business before, while I was a little kid growing up. So that's what I saw growing up, and that's pretty much what I guess it's been somewhat ingrained or engrafted into my being, into my DNA. And so I practice bankruptcy law and real estate law. And from that, I'm working on developing a program to help other entrepreneurs who may have some bankruptcy struggles or may strategically need to file bankruptcy or maybe not. Just exploring those possibilities of whether or not they would need that type of service. And if they don't, I would like to be able to guide them in such a way that they can not only get to the start line, but get over the finish line and continue to be entrepreneurs. It's quite the challenge.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, especially when you're coming across bankruptcies, because a lot of people that experience bankruptcy or go into that particular point in their entrepreneur venture basically think that's the end. That's it. I can't do anything more because they've went through bankruptcy. But it sounds like
Exactly.
that's not the case.
Right. And my goal is to get them in that other frame of mind to understand and realize that that's not an end, it's actually a beginning and a nice fresh start so that they can move on and move forward in their entrepreneurship journey.
Fantastic. Tell me a little bit more when did you know you were going to be an entrepreneur? I know you said it's embedded in your DNA, but I mean, what was the thing that said that you actually did as a child, maybe, that actually made everybody think you were going to be an entrepreneur?
Actually, as a child, I just worked for my dad. And it's so interesting now that I see so many young people have really taken up the mantle and are entrepreneurs. It's fascinating. It's exciting to see some of these teenagers, how they've developed programs or apps or whatever, and they're really pursuing their entrepreneurship journey at such a young age. But I got started by accident, I want to say. I had my ultimately my goal was to become an attorney, but when I got into law school, I was having some struggles. So my mother wanted to start this daycare center, and she said, "Oh, I think you'd be great to work with the kids." So I fell into it by accident, and I loved every minute of it. I really enjoyed working with the children. The kids were the most fun. We not only had fun, but we made it fun for them. And we had a program. They had to learn things, and it was pretty well structured. But just the joy of that whole thing and the freedom of it that it gave me made me understand that I don't know that I ever want to work for anyone else. And so from there, after we did that for about, I think it was about 13, 15 years, somewhere in there, I went back and finished up law school. Well, I actually finished law school before I started the daycare, but I just started to focus in on just practicing law, and then I opened my own firm.
Fantastic. You always know when you're getting to the place where you really want to do what you want to do when you get that warm, fuzzy feeling. And it just sounds like you were able to help so many different people. And that's what a lot of entrepreneurship really is finding a way to be able to help others.
Yes, yes, indeed, yes. And although we provided a service for the parents with the daycare center, they also gave back to us in terms of the children. The kids were just so much fun, and they were so warm. And whenever you have like a bad day, not that you could have a bad day working with them, but they were little. So we had infants to about 5 years old, and they were just a lot of fun. And so they gave back to us as much as we gave to them, which is great. And as you say, being an entrepreneur is really all about servicing people and their needs.
It's so interesting to be able to mold young minds like that to get them pointed in the right direction, or to at least be a part of pointing them in a specific direction to be better in their lives,
Yeah.
especially that young. I remember when my kids are like 30 and some odd now, so it's a little bit different now for me. But when they were young, it was so great. Their imagination was unhindered by everything, so
Yeah.
everything was a game and that kind of thing. And it's a whole different world to be able to work with children like that.
Yes, it is. It was great. Yes, it was.
All right. So what do you think actually holds us new entrepreneurs back from getting across the start line? What is your opinion on that?
I think a lot of it is really mindset and the fear of the unknown. When you're working a traditional 9 to 5 job or whatever your traditional job is, and you're an employee, I think you feel as though you have a certain level of security because your employer is taking care of that, your finances, in terms of you're going to get paid at the end of your 40-hour week or however many hours you work. And I think that gives you a certain sense of security. But what I also think, and I think a lot of people miss this point, is that really isn't as secure as it appears to be. So I mean, at any given time, if the powers that be have determined that you're expendable, then they're going to give you a pink slip. And then what do you do? And so I think a lot of people, instead of really pursuing something that they're passionate about and something that they believe is really worthwhile, they become fearful because they don't know of their fears of the unknown. They're going to launch into something and not really know, okay, is this going to be successful? How am I going to pay my bills? Of course, everyone has to have food, clothing, and shelter. And so those are just your basic needs. So how am I going to pay for my food? How am I going to pay for my shelter? How am I going to pay to keep clothes on my back? So with those three issues being the big things that you got to take care of, people, I think, a lot of times are just very fearful. Some people have some great ideas, but they just are afraid to launch them because they're just afraid that, okay, I'm not sure how I'm going to make my ends meet. So
Yeah, and it's so true that you really don't have the security that most people think you do because they could let you go at any time. How secure really is that? I
exactly.
mean, if you do a good job, great, but sometimes that's not good enough. I mean, you see, especially when COVID hit, you see a lot of people that were with their companies 30, 40 years and they
Yep.
they let them go.
Right.
That's what happened in 2008 when they had the recession. There was big
Hmm.
people that was there for a really long time. They ended up letting go. So how secure is that really?
Right. Exactly.
And And it's funny that you mentioned actually one of the main pillars that I talk about in getting across the start line is fear. And it is
Hmm.
a fear. It is a type of fear to not know. I mean, when you're looking ahead, you can't really see what's going to happen to the future. We become fearful of it because we
Exactly.
don't know what's going to happen, and a lot of times we fear what we don't know. But we always think about when we look at that, we think about the acronym for fear, which is false evidence appearing real.
Yep. Yep. That's right. Yep.
We have things we can do to keep things secure for us. But a lot of times we have to do it on our own. I mean,
Hmm.
you can't get better than secure if it's going to be something for you yourself, because you only have one person that you could blame, yourself,
Exactly. That's right. That's right.
right?
Exactly. Yes. That's right.
So keep that in mind as you're going along and getting things started, even though it's feared even though it's scary,
Hmm.
it's still something we can go forward. It's just because it's scary doesn't mean it's something we're not going to do.
Exactly. And I think how my mother and I approached it was we had a game plan and we just followed the game plan. In other words, where we started the business at was a good location because it was a lot of new there were a lot of new houses being developed. A lot of developments were around the area. So in our heads, we were thinking, oh, if a lot of people are buying houses in the area, then there are families and they'll have kids and they'll need our services. And I think a lot of times if you're getting started in a business, if you do have a great idea, I think you need to just survey the the landscape of whatever it is, because everybody's not going to be into opening a brick and mortar, not anymore. There used to be a time that was it. Everybody had a brick and mortar type business, but now you can launch things online and get into e-commerce and do those types of things. But I think if you start out and think about before you get started how you're going to pursue whatever it is you're going to do, just develop a game plan that really would suit whatever it is that you're promoting, whether it's a service or a product. Make sure that people need it. And I think once you get a real grip of that, then the fear should dissipate at least a little bit anyway.
Yeah, if we take the time to test the market and make sure it's something that people are going to need, or something you've heard that there's a need out there that you can actually help people with, then you
Exactly.
know you're in a better shape.
Yep.
But failing to plan is definitely planning to fail.
There you go. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And if we
Right.
don't make that plan, even though we want to get across the start line as soon as possible, we need to sit down and make sure we know what we're doing, what we're getting, how we're going to get across. All the steps that we need to take to get across the start line are all met.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think once you do that, I think that puts you in a much better place of quote unquote security.
You're doing what most other people don't do. I mean, how many people actually sit down and make a plan before they go do something? A lot of people will just go do something, and I
Right.
call that the fast start. They're
Right.
gearing it towards the money. They're gearing it. They don't care about results. They just want the money. They don't
Hmm.
take the time to find what their zone of genius. They don't take the time to figure out what actually is needed out there. They just think they have an idea and they go for it. And I'm all about going for it,
Hmm.
but let's not take the way towards the money. The money is
Yeah.
going to be there, but we have the byproduct of how we serve our customers
Hmm.
is the money.
Right. Exactly.
Serving first is the most important thing, and then the money comes. And it's going to be a lot more sustainable, and you're going to have a better reputation behind it because you're there to help others.
Absolutely. I think that's the key. I think that's the key. Yep.
All right. So was it the same for you getting across the start line? Was there a fear, or was there something else that was preventing you from getting across the start line, or did anything actually prevent you from getting this across the start line?
Hmm. Just getting, I think it was getting up and running because initially there were different things we had to attend to in terms of in that particular business that you have regulations just like any other ones, and I think those were the biggest hurdles to get over, dealing with the state agencies and the other local agencies. And then in terms of my law practice, of course you have to pass the bar, and once you pass the bar then you have to figure out, okay, now do I want to pursue going into a firm, or do I want to pursue, launching my own firm? And so those are the things that are, I think, challenging, and they make it hard to get over the start line.
Right.
But I think once you start going through the process, in other words, I think it takes on a life of its own. It's like you can't stop it. You have to keep on moving forward with it. And once you realize that some of the things that you think are so scary are not so scary, and you continue to progress through it, it's not as bad as it seems. So yeah, getting over that starting line sometimes can be very challenging.
That's the thing too. If you start going and it's not something you really love, something that's not in your zone of genius, and you start going, you have to go with it because now there's people depending on you. There's actual money coming in. But I've talked to people that are six-figure, seven-figure people, and tell me, I hate what I'm doing. And I'm just
Mm-hmm.
doing this because this is how I ended up. If you would
Mm-hmm.
take the time to plan, like we talked about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and know that it's in your zone of genius, then it's really not work anymore. It's something that you love. That's why
Exactly.
if you're doing something that's in your zone of genius, you don't mind doing it for free because you love doing it so much. Of course, you don't always want to do it for free, but that's the way you feel, right?
Yes.
So you always want to, if you're going to move forward with it, make sure it's something that you love.
Yes. Yes. And there again, like you said, the money will come if it's something that you love, and you'll. I think people will, as an entrepreneur, you'll learn how to adjust to make sure that you're going to serve the best way that you can to meet the needs of those people that are your customers.
Exactly. Exactly. Meeting those needs are going to be the most important at the very end. As long as you've done the research and know what those needs are. If you take that fast start, you don't know what those needs are. You're just doing
Right.
it for the money, like we talked about earlier.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
Getting through the bar, I guess, was that the hardest thing that you had to do to get started? I mean, what was the hardest thing you needed to do to get started?
The hardest thing I needed to do to get started was actually getting through law school.
Right, yeah, passing the bar and that kind of thing. It's not like someone's going to hand you a rod and say, "Okay, you've passed the bar." It doesn't work
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah, I had some challenges in law school, and I was on academic probation for a bit, and so that was actually when we opened the daycare center. Because my mother's, you're not in school right now. Why don't we try something else? And I was like, oh, okay, maybe so. So that's how I fell into it. And I just had no idea that I would love it so much. But once I did go back and finish law school and take the bar, I guess the redemption was I at least passed the bar the first time out, so I felt good about that.
Good, congratulations on that. Definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, that was great. But the challenges I think that a lot of people face in the beginning is really just overcoming the fear of the unknown. I just think that was a scary for me as well, because I had been I had just gotten out of college and had a couple of years in law school, and then my mother's talking about starting a business. And I'm like, that kind of wasn't what I thought I was going to want to do. But after considering all of the possibilities and all of her ideas, and as I said, we had a game plan. I was like, this might work, and it began to, I think, all of the things you have to go through in the beginning to get started with the inspections and renovating the building and making it kid friendly and all those different things that you have to go through, no matter what it is you're doing. I think those are the things that are the biggest challenge to getting started, because I think a lot of people in that phase of opening their business, they're fearful of going through that, and those challenges sometimes really defeat people before they even get started.
Yeah, exactly. And it circles right back to what we talked about earlier, where if we do fear it, we're fearing the unknown. We're not sure exactly how it's going to turn out, so we shy away from it. So you having an experience, at least getting started in being a lawyer, you knew what to expect, so it wasn't so bad. So yeah, that's awesome. Do you, this question popped in my head just now, and I was wondering how you had the childcare thing for a while, and then you went into the lawyering thing, and you're doing the bankruptcy help now. Did you carry any experience over from the daycare into what you're doing now?
I think just the whole entrepreneurial mindset, because although you're practicing law, it is a business. I think sometimes people think, oh, you're just providing a service and you're just helping people. And that's fine. We do help people, at least hopefully most of us do. But it is a business structure. And so that whole experience from the daycare center, I think I did take the experience from that and bring it over to the law practice, as well as I do some real estate investing, so that's another business as well. I think all of the things that people go through, whether they're a business um, experience or a personal experience, I think all of those things together, when you put them together, it helps you become a better entrepreneur or just a better person who's able to serve better. Because if you think about the experiences that you have and you look at them as like building blocks to getting to a final destination, then I think you can incorporate almost any experience you have into something good. All of the bad things that you go through, I don't think people should see their mistakes as mistakes as much as they should see them as stumbling blocks to make you better at whatever it is you do. It doesn't matter what profession you're in or what job you have. Don't look at your failures, so to speak, as failures as much as they are learning experiences to get you to a better place or to do things differently and learn from those things so that you don't make the same mistakes over and over again.
You hear that, school believers? That's exactly almost word for word what I tell you all about failure, right? It's almost word for word what I say. It's what we do with those experiences when we do fail is what actually makes us who we are as people, as entrepreneurs, as whatever it is that makes you you. Just
That's
like you
right.
said, they're stepping blocks or they're the things that put us together. So that's what really makes us different because we
Hmm.
all experience different things. We have different failures that we experience. We have different information that we carry over from the different experiences from the different failures. I mean, you carried childcare over into being a lawyer. I wouldn't have never have made that connection at all. I really wouldn't have. But the experiences you had starting the childcare company helps you learn how to be an entrepreneur and being a lawyer is an entrepreneur. It really is because you have to market yourself and find clients.
Yes,
If you don't go out there and
exactly.
actively find clients, you're not a lawyer because you're not representing anybody.
That's
No matter
right.
what you see on TV, right? Because you see the
Absolutely.
lawyers on TV, they have clients already. It's built into the script, right? Doesn't work that way.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. And what I'm hoping to really achieve with the program that I'm developing is to get the financially challenged entrepreneur to go into a place where they're actually investing either in real estate, because that would provide them with a hedge around themselves so that they don't find themselves back in those financial challenges, or into some other type of investing. It doesn't have to be real estate. It's just that that's what I happen to do, kind of like as my side hustle, and working towards retirement so that can be my full-time gig. But yeah, that would be the best place, I think, for those people who are entrepreneurs that have had struggles and they understand, okay, I need to be sure that I don't find myself into this situation again. So what do I do to protect myself from that?
So if we wanted a taste of being able to do something like that, is there anything we can get our hands on, a book that we can read or something like that, if we want to just get an idea if this is something we want to do as far as like using investing to be able to help us invest in ourselves?
I mean, to me, there's so many great books out there, and I know this sounds really cliche, but I think if people really, if you want to start out as an entrepreneur, I think one of the best books to read is Thinking and Grow Rich. And I know
Oh,
that's
yes.
it's an old school book, but it really gets you in the mindset of thinking about how your thought process really can attract the money and the people and the clients and all the things that you need to really develop and grow your business. So that's just one thing. But I mean, there's so many of them out there, especially now. I think, let's see, we have. There's Grant Cardone. He does a great job in terms of teaching people how to invest. There's uh oh wow, there's lots of them. Tony Robbins doesn't necessarily promote real estate investing as much as he promotes the whole mindset piece. He's really good at promoting that. And then you have, like I said, some of the old school ones. There's John Maxwell. He promotes leadership. There's Zig Ziglar. I mean, these are all people that I've read and I've studied because they are people who really help you not just develop as an entrepreneur, but they help you to really improve your own yourself. It's a lot of self development that goes along with becoming an entrepreneur and hopefully a good one.
Yeah, I have completely. You wouldn't even recognize me 4 years ago. I was a whole different person before I
There you
started
go.
this whole entrepreneur adventure thing.
Okay.
I wasn't a great person. I'm going to be honest with you. I was not a great person. But once I started doing the podcasting and learning how to actually communicate with people properly, and then
Mhm.
changing my mindset about how I treat others,
Mhm.
it really made a big difference in how I treat myself. Really, is how that ended up working. Just a side note, shameless plug, sorry. If you want Think and Grow Rich, it is in my website under I gotta remember now. Thank you, editing. Resources.
Resources.
So
Okay.
if
Yep.
you go to my website, tuepodcast.net, go to
Mhm.
resources, and I have a lot of books there. One of them happens to be Think and Grow Rich. The other one is Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yep. I was gonna mention that one as well. I actually had the pleasure of interviewing on my podcast Sharon Lecter.
Oh,
She yes, she was co-author of Think and Grow Rich. She's a great person to work with as well. She is a CPA, but she helped co-author that book, and she does a lot of real estate investing. So she and her husband, they're just both great people. I've done work with them, so yeah, that's a shameless plug for them. I really love them. They're good people. They're good people.
that's awesome. If they're looking for to guest on another podcast, let me know. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Okay, I will.
Okay. So up to this point, I mean, you've had the child care center, you have what you're doing now, you have the whole lawyer thing, but can you tell me one or two major accomplishments that you've set for yourself that you're really glad happened to you, like some really good accomplishments?
Wow, that's a great question. I think working at being a good mom, being a good daughter to my parents, those seem like those are mundane, but doing those things, hopefully I'm a good wife to my husband. I don't know. You'd have to ask him. But those are are small accomplishments, but they're great accomplishments in terms of me really looking at myself and hopefully developing myself into the best person that I can be. Those are major accomplishments. And in terms of professionally, being recognized by a couple of organizations that have seen fit to look at me and think that I've done a good job, I appreciate that. So yeah, those are a couple of things I got recognized for, and those have been things that I've really appreciated. People have taken the time to recognize what I do, and I'm hoping that moving forward, I the program that I develop, I can have a bigger impact on more people, and maybe become recognized for that as well. Helping those entrepreneurs just like you're doing to get to the first part, the beginning line, and get to that finish line as well. So yeah, the major accomplishments have been just really helping a whole lot of people and hoping to help a whole lot more.
There you go. Yeah, getting across the start line, helping people get across the start line. Being a mom is the hardest job in the world.
That's what I always have said. Yes,
I,
parenting is really
my
a
my
hard.
wife, you want this job? I'm like, no, you keep this job. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing over here because I've seen what moms have to go through on a daily basis. And I mean, everything from my son's gonna be turning 18 here next month. And then my oldest son's 32 and my youngest daughter is 28. So I've seen the whole spectrum happen a couple of times.
That's right.
And
Yes,
I gotta
you have.
tell you,
Yes,
moms out there, my hat's off to you for sure,
I agree.
100%.
I agree. Yeah, multitasking is an everyday event with them. with us.
Multi-thinking too, which is I'm terrible at. That's the thing.
I think the thing that's the hardest part is even though you get them from infant to 18 and you think that's a struggle, but the hardest part I think is the ongoing parenting. It's like when they become adults because you can see some of the pitfalls and you try to explain to them, okay, don't do that, don't go down that road. But then you have to realize, well, they're adults. They're going to make their own decisions.
And that's a rough thing to go down because it's like you want to stop them, you want to hold them, but it's like they're not going to learn anything if you stop them.
That's right. And you can't stop them anyway because
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
adults. They're going to do what they want.
So,
Uh,
all right. So hats off to the kids too. Thanks. Okay.
True.
All right. So in this podcast, we talk to new entrepreneurs that are just getting across the start line. So
Mhm.
what kind of advice would you have to entrepreneurs that are just getting across the start line?
Number one, I would say, like we said before, develop a game plan. Decide what it is you're going to to do in the thing that you love to do. First, you got to really figure out, okay, what thing is it that I am passionate about? Because, like you said before, if you're not passionate about it, then it's not. If you're just focusing on the money, that won't sustain you, and then you'll end up hating it, and that's not the point. The point is for you to make money as something you love to do, because that kind of to me is really what being an entrepreneur is all about. So I think really get a game plan, think about the game plan, and also be flexible because you could start out with one game plan and as you're going through the process find out maybe this is a better way to do it or maybe I could do it something differently, those kinds of things. So get a game plan, stick to it, but also be flexible. And I think that's a really big thing for people who are entrepreneurs who are starting out. They need to really understand that you can't just be very rigid because being rigid sometimes is not going to get you the result that you need. So I think that's the big one of the biggest things of getting over that beginning starting line.
All right, fantastic. We'll definitely make sure we do that. Make a plan and be flexible about it because there is going to be times where you're going to have to pivot. You're going to have to change brands. You're going to have to fix things up a little bit to make them even better than they are before. So we can't just stick to one thing the whole time and just hope it's going to work, right?
Yeah,
It's like they
exactly.
say, if you do the same thing over and over again, nothing's going to change, right?
That's right. Nothing's going to change. Yeah.
All right. So before we started recording, we actually talked about a program that you were putting together. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I would love to. Thank you so much for bringing that up. The program is geared towards new entrepreneurs, just as your show is, and the hope is to help them to develop a game plan. And then those people who experienced bankruptcy, I would love to be able to help them overcome the fear that they have, the emotional trauma of that whole event, and then get them to a place where they not only are in a better mindset, but also can really see the benefit of staying in the entrepreneur game. And who knows? I mean, maybe after they have a few weeks in my program, they'll realize that they're not really entrepreneurs, or maybe they don't want to be an entrepreneur. The hope is to have the program get them focused on what they need to do to get started. And once they get started, what they need to do to stay on track. And then as they go along at the end of the program, I would love to help them to learn how to invest.
Yeah, entrepreneurship is not going to be for everybody. Some people it just doesn't fit their personality or it's just something they're not really used to or like that, so it's not going to be for everybody. So
Right.
finding that out early
Yes.
is definitely key. So it sounds like your program can help out with that.
I'm hoping that that's what it does. Just helping people to explore the entrepreneurial game to see if this is something that they want to do, and if it is, how I can best serve them to the program can best serve them to actually get their business up and running.
Fantastic. Now, if anybody wants to look into this program that Vera has going on, make sure you travel down into the show notes there. Click on the link that's down there. It says Vera on it, and we'll get you a little sneak peek of what's going on there so you can get an idea what's happening. Okay?
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's great. Thanks very much. I appreciate it, Jason.
All right. So something I like to do with all my guests
Hmm.
is to get a 6 month goal for you yourself and your business. So
Okay.
aside from the program that you're putting together, because we've already
Right.
talked about that, do you
Mhm.
have a 6 month goal for yourself and your company?
Yes. Right now, my 6 month goal is to actually expand my real estate investing business. I'm hoping to get some multifamilies. That's what my focus is now, and just really scale up. So that's hopefully at the end of the next within the next 6 months, I actually have a couple of multifamily properties. That's what my next goal is and what my real focus is. And I guess I don't want to say necessarily totally close down the law practice, but pretty much scale it down. I'll put it that way.
Scale down.
Scale it down. Yep, scale it
Okay. So how many multifamily clients do you think you can grab in 6 months?
down. Ooh, that's now multifamily clients or
Clients.
multifamily
But the ones
properties?
you were talking about just now, was that property?
Oh, you mean what I was talking about was actually some apartment buildings?
Okay.
That's what I was looking to do within the next 6 months. And in terms of my program, oh man, I would love to have at least at the end of within the next 6 months, I'd love to have at least 100 people that I can really help get started, and that would be great if that. And it might even be more. I mean, if I could get up to 500, that would be great. I'm just trying to make sure I'm not overextending my view, but the sky's the limit. I mean, 500 would be great, 1,000 would be great. I really want to see how big an impact that I can have on as many people as I can have that really want to pursue their entrepreneurship journey.
All right, that's good. So here's what we're going to do. I
Okay,
would actually like to have another interview with you in 6 months.
okay, that'd be great.
All right, and
That'd
see
be great.
if we've got at least. I'm going to stick to 100 people into that program that we talked about.
Me
See
too.
if you
I'll stick with
scaled
it.
down the practice just a little bit, so you have a little bit more time to stay in your zone of genius and work where you want to
Exactly.
work. And we'll see how
Exactly.
many multifamily apartment buildings, whatever it was that you were talking about, you have. Is that okay?
That sounds like a plan. I'd love it. Yep,
I'm
I'd
not
love
a technical person, if you couldn't tell. So I'm like, I'm
it.
a
It
who's
sounds
a what's it kind of guy. So whatever you just said, that's what we're going to go with. Okay.
okay. It sounds good.
All right. All right, Vera, this is your time to shine. This is your time. I want to take and advertise yourself. How do we get a hold of you? How do we get a hold of any of your services and all that good stuff? Okay, ready, set,
Go.
go.
You can reach me at vmccoyesq at financialfirstaid.com. That's how you can reach me by email. I'm still developing the website. I had one, but I closed that down. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. You can hopefully get to, and I would love people to come to my YouTube channel and subscribe my YouTube videos for my Financial First Aid podcast. That's I think it's Vera McCoy at 55 or something like that. Anyway, it's Financial First Aid with Vera McCoy. So, and also some of my podcasts are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify as well. So I'm working on having more podcasts produced as well. So that's really something, that's another goal within the next 6 months. I'd love to have a whole bunch more of those put out there. So I think those are pretty much all the ways people can reach out to me for now anyway. I do have an Instagram account as well. That's V McGill. So that's my combination of my name and my husband's name, McGill. So
Nice. That's
now,
awesome. So it's nice
yes,
when you just stick the other half in there too.
yes.
All right. All right, Vera, thank you so much for being on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur. This is an absolute treat. I really love talking to you, and I really hope that we can get across to the new school believers and help them get across the start line.
Yes, indeed. Let's help push them over there. Let's push them and pull them.
There you
Okay.
go.
Thank you so much for having me, Jesse. It was a pleasure. I've got to check out the Undiscovered Entrepreneur, not just while I'm on it, but your other programs as well. I can't wait to see them. Thank you so much.
All right. All right, school believers, make sure you stay tuned for the wrap up. All right, everybody, thank you. Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye bye.
All right, school believers, that was Vera. What a fantastic interview we had with her. And here's the couple takeaways I have from that one. Your past experiences are not failures, but stepping stones to success. Embrace every challenge as a learning opportunity that shapes you into a better entrepreneur and a stronger person. And that doesn't have to happen with just entrepreneurship, but it can happen with every step of your life. Everything you do, even though it might be kind of bad at the time, but it's a learning process. We learn this way as humans, and I think that's fantastic. And don't let fear of the unknown hold you back from pursuing your passions. Create a flexible game plan, take the first step across the start line, and remember, true security comes from investing in yourself and in your dreams. So when we talk about things like that, it's not just investing in the current thing that's going on right now. It's investing in your future. Whatever we can do to make our future better and invest not just money, it doesn't always have to be about money, but invest in time, invest in relationships, invest in things that you know is going to help you in the long run. And with those fantastic words, I'm going to say thank you very much for listening to the Undiscovered Entrepreneur Get Across the Start Line, and I will see you next week. Goodbye, everybody.